17-year-old boy. He's a 17-year-old boy. Is this like the first
They made it home.
that equals?
I've never been to Las Vegas.
Also need, wait, 703? Okay.
Conference last spring.
And sir, you will appreciate this.
Back to travel. Yes.
I am in the light.
Of course, there's peanuts.
I have to.
You need them now. There's Heather. There's
Let's
Heather.
get a little warm.
A little warm, a little fun. I don't think I'm gonna do a show.
I didn't want to write it in the text, but I want to do that. Are we there? Are we living in our Hello. I brought some high quality dark chocolate.
Because we all need high quality dark chocolate.
Oh, wow.
Just like grab a piece and
It's gonna leave my teeth clean until after.
How's it going?
I'm just like, it was making sure that those guys. So we just sit here and,
Very bizarre. We're like,
yeah,
and we were
and then
Lindsay
Lindsay and Christine will come up to do the presentation and we'll go down and sit in the seats. Afterwards, we'll come back for questions and answers.
oh, no, it went through and it came right back out.
We're all set?
Yeah, don't anticipate.
Something
And we're ready to go live? Okay. It is 7:05. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of grace due to the inclement weather and get started on this school informational meeting. I'm going to call it to order with my interim gavel that we are having an informational meeting for the school budget. This is different from town meeting because it is not the forum where we're going to actually debate and vote on the school budget or other articles before us. Instead, we will be reading the articles as is required. We will be receiving a presentation. We will be answering any questions that the public has. There's also going to be an article at the end that allows for any other business that people wish to bring before the school board and by extension the superintendent. We are doing this as a hybrid informational meeting. So we have the in-person with the hardy folks who made it out in the snow to be able to participate, as well as I understand it, a number of people who are at home or elsewhere who are joining us via Zoom. This hybrid meeting is possible because it is an informational meeting. And just as a reminder, town meeting will be next Tuesday, and it will not be a hybrid meeting. It will be an in-person only meeting. And it's just important that everyone know that if they wish to participate in that debate and voting, they need to be here at Damon Hall at 9 a.m. In person. So what I'm going to do is go through each of the articles one by one. We will see if there are any questions on these individual articles that I will be reading aloud. If there are questions that are in the room, we will take those first, and then we will be looking to individuals who are on Zoom to raise their hand. There is not the option to post questions in the comment section. We will be watching dutifully to see people who are actually raising their hand, and we will be calling on them one by one. If the audio works, it means that those questions will then be amplified here in the room and for individuals who are online, and then we will be answering those questions one by one. There will be a presentation after Article 5 that will go into detail on the budget. The school board members who are currently sitting here on display on the stage will be stepping down so that folks here can see the screen as part of that presentation, and I will be asking for permission to allow our new superintendent to be able to present as a non-Hartland resident. Does that make sense to everyone?
And our principal. Yes, it does.
Hmm?
And our principal.
And our principal. Oh, both will be. Okay, great, excellent. So we will We will get started with reading of the articles. Article 1, to elect the town school district officers for the ensuing year. This is taking place by Australian ballot next Tuesday. Any questions? Okay. Article 2, to act on the reports of the school district officers for the past year. That also will be voted on by Australian ballot. Any questions about the reports of the school district officers for the past year? Okay. Article 3, to vote for the school district to pay taxes to the town treasurer, such taxes to be collected on the same schedule voted at the town meeting. That will also be voted on by Australian ballot. Any questions on Article 3? Okay. Article 4, to vote that the school district is authorized to borrow money from the Capital Reserve Fund on or a commercial lender in anticipation of taxes to meet the requirements of the school district for the ensuing year, and to authorize the execution and delivery of notes or orders to the school district. This will also be voted on by Australian ballot. Any questions on Article 4? Okay. Article 5, shall the voters of the Hartland School District approve the school board to expend $9,991,128, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. It is estimated that this proposed budget, if approved, will result in education spending of $22,841.81 per equalized pupil. This projected spending per equalized pupil is 10.73% higher than the spending for the current year. This article will also be voted on by Australian ballot next Tuesday. But before we take questions on this, this is when we will take a break and have a presentation from our superintendent, our principal, and I believe just the chair will also be doing so. Without objection, we will allow our school officials who do not reside in town to address the meeting.
So how do you guys want to do, can we grab a mic, or do we all just want to stand over here?
It's a very good driver.
I guess we can take Matt's mic. Oh, we'll take Matt's mic. There we go. Okay, yeah, we'll all just stand up here.
I'll take this out of the way.
Yeah, we might have somebody if we have that. What was that? Would it be helpful to have the wireless mic as well? No, I think we'll do okay. Thanks. Okay, Alina, do you want to give us the direction slide? Okay. I assume this is working. So Christine found our new superintendent, who was Hartland's former principal, found this slide a few years ago. And it really resonates with all of us that are in education, or those school board members who are trying to guide education in our community. There's a lot going on in our schools right now. Our schools are there to support children. We're there to develop relationships. We're there to teach them. We're there to teach them to collaborate and to teach kids to be inclusive of each other. We're there to support their mental health. We're there to support their physical health. In a lot of cases, we're there to feed them. So schools are doing a lot, and it's not just a place of education right now in our society. And this really captures everything that we're trying to do. So in Windsor Southeast Supervisory Union, we went through the Portrait of a Graduate process about 3 years ago, culminating in our supervisory union's portrait. And the idea is that our students are going to be the voice. And this is we feel this is the way of the future because our students can get all the information they want off of the internet, and they don't need to memorize facts anymore in school. They need to learn how to be proactive in their lives and how to guide their own futures. And by giving them their own voice, even at this young age, we're guiding them to make those better decisions in the future. So through that, we have 5 core competencies, and those are empathy, perseverance, integrity, communication, and critical thinking. And those 5 competencies guide almost everything that we do now in the school. Oh, you're not in charge. Lena's in charge. Oh, okay. So we'll move on to goals. So within the strategic plan, we've put together, in order to implement it, we put together 3 main goals for this particular section of our strategic plan. And those are the goals that we're implementing this year. And that is student success and engagement, information and communication, and culture and student wellness. So those are the goals of the strategic plan that was developed at a community level and a board level. And now I'm handing it over to see how our administration is implementing these goals.
Thank you, Nikki. Alina, if you could click on that first one. This first one is a wonderful video from one of our first grade teachers, Anna Brooks, where this was originally played at an SU board meeting, but I think it still holds so true now and a long time from now on the incredible work not only that's happening with our first graders, but so many of our students in Hartland. If you want to hit play, Alina, thank you.
Hi, SU Board. My name is Anna Brooks. I am a first grade teacher at the Hartland Elementary School, and I am also a Lighthouse coordinator here at school. I visited a Leader in Me school several years ago with a group, and I remember walking into the school, being greeted by children, and being toured around the school by the students, and remembering how amazing that was, and thinking, oh my gosh, I want this. From the classroom data hung in the classrooms, which at that point I didn't really understand fully, and the mission statements hung on the classroom doors, and the cohesiveness of the school was remarkable. And now I get to say I get to do this. I get to do this every day in my classroom, and it feels so good to be a part of a school that's moving forward in such a proactive way. And our 21-22 school year goal was to learn and live the 7 habits. And I think some of us did that more than others just from being a part of the Lighthouse team. I was able to really bring that into my classroom. And I can say without a doubt, last year was one of the toughest teaching years I've ever been through. I cried a lot, but those first graders left in such a good headspace and as such leaders in our school, and adults were recognizing it, and the students were recognizing it, and they recognized that in themselves. And that was such an important piece for them to see in themselves, that the leader is in me. I love this year having students come into my classroom, having some of that common language, and really building off of the 7 habits each and every day through actions and teachable moments, having those displayed and just using language so frequently throughout the day. Remember your habits. What are your habits? Good habits make good routines. Good routines make great leaders. Be proactive. Nice job having a plan. You thought ahead. Work first, then play. Just today I had 2 students who did not complete all of their morning work. It happens, right? We have things that pop up in our morning. And after our literacy centers, they sat down, they completed their morning work without being asked, and then came up so proud. I completed my morning work. Look, nice job thinking ahead. You had a plan. Go out to Runabout. Nice job. But just seeing them thrive in their own bodies and being like, oh my gosh, I can do this. I'm in charge of me. This is my school. This is my opportunity. I get to be at school and do all of these amazing things. It's taking it off of Anna Brooks, who likes to be in control, and putting it on the students and putting it in their hands every single day. We've created leadership roles in the classroom, which has taken a couple weeks to try to tease out what the students are really wanting to take control of in the classroom. And we've made a list of those back here, and students get to sign up and try out new roles in the classroom. We take them off, we add new ones, and every day we're tweaking things and figuring out new roles that students like to try. Today I had the literacy centers going, the timer went off, and I had a student stand up and actually give positive feedback before we rotated to the next station, just off a whim. They came up and did it. Really nice job. You're thinking ahead. You're being proactive. Oh, it looks like we need to clean up your center before we switch. But they're first graders, they're 6, and they're taking control of their own learning, and it's so powerful to see working in your classroom. And that's not a Miss Brooks thing. That's a student thing. That's what they're doing on their own. They're leading themselves. So leadership roles have been going great. And then our mission statement has also taken a couple weeks to come to fruition, and it's all about discovering their hopes and dreams and talking about being kind and respectful and responsible and safe. All of those things that we've done all along at Hartland Elementary, but now bringing it into a new light with Leader in Me and connecting it with the 7 habits and really giving the kids language to articulate what they want out of their year. They have named it their first grade story, and we read it every single day. And it is just a great way to start our day. And our first grade story, if I can pull it up and see you at the same time, goes like this. We, the first grade, promise to have fun each day, try new things, make new friends, and learn all that we can. We will work hard to be kind, respectful, responsible, and safe, and to build new habits that will help us become great leaders. And that is what they came up with. That is what they hope and dream for their school year. And that is what they reflect on every single day, even in the hard moments. If it didn't go okay, we let it go. We take a leadership lab moment. So thinking about Leader in Me with behavior has really changed the scape of our school, I think. Our SEIs now have common language to work off of. So when a student is showing unexpected behavior, we talk about the habits. We read the room before they come back. Where do you need to be? What did you learn? And it's really coming full circle. It doesn't feel as choppy. So that's it's a nice piece to add universally to our school. Just the cohesiveness that Leader in Me is bringing to our daily routines at public school. I couldn't be more proud to be a part of the team and to be working and building these foundational skills because they are our future. And I'm really excited to see how this plays out in the next couple of years as we get deeper into WIGs and goal setting and really giving the kids more voice and choice in their education. It's just a really exciting path to be on. So thank you.
And Anna, in this video, so eloquently spoke about Leader in Me, which is a framework that not only at Hartland Elementary School, but also in the entire SU that we use to really help bring the entire school together. It encompasses, so many different aspects of what we're trying to do. And towards the end of the video, Anna spoke about WIGs, which is an acronym that stands for Wildly Important Goals. And we do that both privately and publicly. The more public goals are whole class and whole school goals, where the private goals are each individual student's goals, with the big idea being growth. as even if it's small incremental growth, that's what's the most important, is that we're making growth. And next, Alina. Oh, that's all right. Here we go. The next part of the strategic plan is information and communication. And we've tried to do that in a couple different ways. We have the Wildcat Weekly newsletter that goes out every week, which we've tried a different format with that this year. It's called S'more, and it's a nice streamlined way to be able to get information out, which allows for pretty quick, easy clickable links that will pull up for people. And we've been really excited to bring back in full force the in-person community dinners. I know we did that in May at the end of last year, but it's been really nice to bring back community dinners and have people back in the building again. It has felt refreshing. It's been really wonderful. And the third is we're using our NTSS system, which is a multi-tiered system of supports. In Hartland, we're trying to do that in a few different ways. We're being extremely intentional with our teachers around unpacking standards with them. What that means is actually understanding what the standard is asking them to teach and breaking apart, because oftentimes one standard for a fourth grade teacher at a quick glance looks relatively simple, but as you really break it apart, there are so many small aspects of a standard that it's asking teachers to be able to help support students with. And so we've been really intentional on unpacking those standards and have a true understanding of what it's asking students to be able to know and understand. We are looking at high impact teaching strategies, looking at data from students. That data can be both behavior as well as academic. We're looking at behavior write-ups where we're saying what times of the day are we noticing an increase in write-ups? And if we're seeing a pattern in that, well, what can we proactively do to help support our students during those times of the day? And we are doing that also by utilizing We Are Hope. We have school-based clinicians as well as school counselors. And I think something that is at least extremely exciting for me is that we brought back a tradition of winter activities, which we are so incredibly grateful that this time last year that the board supported in funding locally in the budget. It has been incredible seeing it every week, the smiles on students' faces, whether they chose to ski or go bowling or swim or something in-house. It has been truly incredible to see the joy and the genuine connection that students are making, not only with the adults that they see every day, but offering them opportunities to grow relationships with adults throughout the building, which has been amazing. And Alina, I think the next bubble should just be some photos of some. We're also doing that photo on the left. We're doing, every Friday we have an all school-wide assembly, and on some of those we do activities. That one was an Oreo sitting on top of her head, trying to balance it. And the next was some photos of our skiers during winter activities. The photo on the left was a different activity that we did, whole school, where they were trying to keep a balloon up in the air and they had to keep bouncing it. And then our swimmers during winter activities. Our swimmers again on the left, and that photo on the right was, we did on Valentine's Day, we hosted a lunch with a loved one where we offered the opportunity for all families to come in and enjoy a lunch with their family members, and it was amazing. We had, I think it was over 100 families came, 100 individuals came and enjoyed lunch with their student. We had some people come up from out of state and have lunch with their grandkids. It was really incredible. The photo on the left was also from lunch with a loved one, and then we had some more skiing photos too. And these two were from bowling. We were able to have a bus bring students that wanted to bowl down to the Claremont bowling alley. It was so much fun. There was the kids interacting with each other. It was truly that photo on the right of those two friends hugging each other it was great. And I had to include, the board has been really intentional about wanting to fund and making it equitable for all students that want to participate in band in the music programs at Hartland. And so this was from the winter concert, which was absolutely incredible. Both that Jamie Bernstein as well as Becca Town, our two music instructors, are just amazing, and it's been wonderful to be able to offer musical opportunities for those that are interested, regardless of ability to fund an instrument. All right, I think next is community, Alina, which is me too. All right, so this next one talks about what we're doing to try to meet the needs of the community. Here we go. What we do, whole school, any student that qualifies for special education, we make sure we meet those services for them. We are HOPE, our in-house clinicians as well as school counselors. For our 8th grade students who are able and who are eligible, they can go to Windsor High School and participate in algebra, which has been a really wonderful opportunity for our students. We send in Hartland this year, we're almost at 20, which is really, really fantastic to be able to send that many students. And we're able to offer free meals for all students, which is absolutely incredible. And every day I'm continually blown away by how great the food is. Every single day. We are truly lucky to be able to offer the opportunities that we can for these students. And we participate in the Four Winds program. It was something prior to COVID that was more prevalent and has kind of taken a pause during COVID, but we are, with Karina Brown, who is really our support person for Four Winds, we are working on rebuilding that program, so we're really excited about that. And I mentioned this before, but winter activities is something we're doing to meet student needs, is that we're doing that at no cost to families, regardless of whatever they wanted to choose, which when we think about voice and choice for students and having them engaged in what they're doing, having choice in what they're participating in is really critical. And we are continuing to work really hard at having students present at board meetings as much as we can, showing their work, whether it's a presentation or having them come and speak about what they're doing. And we're also, as I mentioned before, doing all school weekly meetings, which have been a really fun way to get everybody together in the same room. And the funding sources that we have, a large portion of it comes locally from the state of Vermont, local and from the state of Vermont Education Fund, as well as private grants, our PTO, and generous donations from families, teachers, and community members, as well as volunteers. That might be the end, and I will turn it over to Christine, who will talk about more at the SU level.
Good evening. I am, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Christine Bourne. I'm the interim superintendent, and I just have to say I'm going to be the permanent superintendent on July 1st. The first time I got to say that. And I'm thrilled and honored to serve the Hartland community and all of the communities in the supervisory union. And I hope you feel the excitement that I just felt and feel in our schools when we go in. We are working together because we believe we're stronger together to really transform education for our kids and make sure they're prepared for 21st century college, career, life. And we know that we're on the right track and we've got a lot of work to do, but it's really exciting work. And some of that is possible because of the work, the coordination and the cohesion from the supervisory union at that level. So I'm gonna just share a little bit of some of the services that you receive from the supervisory union for the portion of the assessments that your tax dollars go to, because I think that's important for you to know. Some of you probably already know that over the past few years, the Agency of Education has required that many of these services that we provide are implemented at the SU level. And those are everything from curriculum coordination, special education, transportation, professional development, human resources, business and finances, which includes our payroll, our budgets, our accounts receivable, purchasing, contract negotiations. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that I've learned being in the role that I'm in that isn't always transparent or out front, but there's a lot that goes on at the supervisory union level. also technology and grants management. So the SU does a lot in terms of moving the vision forward and keeping things together. All of those things are part of what's called the general fund, which is made up of special education and admin and operations at the SU level. We also have a very robust early childhood education program at the SU level, which provides oversight for our pre-K programs throughout the SU, and the funding that is provided through the state, so that's managed at the SU level under Act 166. But we also have an SU-wide pre-K program housed at Windsor, which is open to all SU residents. And it is a pretty amazing program. It's 2 full-day, fully staffed classrooms, 15 students each. And we're really proud of that program. It's inclusive, it's integrated, and it's really providing a strong early foundation for our youngest learners. And we know that pays off later on. I don't know, Katie's here. I don't know, Katie, did you want to add anything? Katie is our Director of Student Support Services and helps manage these programs.
I am here. This is Katie Ahern, the Director of Student Support Services. And Christine, I think you nailed it. You've got it all.
Great. The other thing we're really proud of is our food service program. You heard Lindsay refer to it. We at the SU level provide oversight over our local food service program. It is local. It's run by us. We have an amazing director. It's pretty awesome, and we're pretty proud of the food. And the program has grown since its inception. And as you may or may not know, we are still providing universal meals for all kids, breakfast and lunch. And that makes a huge difference for many, many kids. So in summary, roughly 75% of your local tax dollars go to your local budget, and the other 25% go towards the SU budget. And so I think we are at a place where we're going to take questions on the first part of the presentation, if there are any. And I have a job to do here to watch the questions, so I will do it. I'm blocking you. The first part?
Yeah, we were thinking we'd do programming questions at this point, and then we'll do budget questions following budget. Yeah, do you guys want me to respond for you? Okay, so I'll speak, and then if you disagree with me, come up. I'll sit. Oh.
Okay, well, I've had a very hard time hearing what's going on because they don't seem to be using the microphone either. So I wonder if you could speak to what the pre-K program is.
Yep, I'm going to let Katie, the director of that program, unmute.
Oh, Katie, could you unmute and answer that question?
I could. I don't know what the question was. I did not hear it.
Okay, we're going to try this again. I will repeat it.
No, Brad, ask the question again with the microphone.
I'd like to better understand the pre-K program, who's eligible for it, and what's involved in the program.
So our early childhood program, like many of our preschools in the area, has an open enrollment in the spring. Students are between the ages of 3 and 5 years old as of September 1st of the school year. The application process is for any member of the SU committee, so Wethersfield, Hartland, Windsor, and West Windsor families are eligible for our pre-K program. The 2 classrooms are staffed by 2 fully certified early childhood teachers. One also happens to be, and we have had at times at least one of those be a special educator as well, in addition to 4 full-time support staff individuals. Does that answer your question?
how are students chosen? Is it a lottery system? Are they chosen based on need? I mean, what's the criteria for getting into the program?
It's a lottery system, depending, students who are returning are given the first slots, and then the remaining are students by lottery. Is generally how that goes. We have just this year had the 2 full-time classrooms. And we were able to, this year, anyone who applied was able to have a spot. And
Oh, Helen, can you unmute yourself? Helen, did you have a question? Do you want to unmute yourself?
While we're waiting for Helen to see if she can unmute herself, is there another person with a question? Okay. Helen, if you are able to unmute yourself, we'll take questions after we do the budget, and we're happy to go back to programming items at that time to accommodate any questions that are out there. Okay. It is. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
we thought.
We'll address the budget next and do a walkthrough of it, and then have questions there. But once if the budget sparks other questions about what you've seen, we can take those as well.
Okay.
Moving on to the budget?
Yep.
Okay.
Alina. Oh. Okay, I'm trying to get to the mic so that people can hear me. Okay. So before we go into the budget, I wanted to say a couple of extra comments on the programming. First is our food service is really amazing. So anyone that is listening to this presentation, when you see an advertisement for a community meal, please come check it out. They are for everyone in the community, not just people related to the school. They are for all of Hartland. We want to showcase what we have. We have, like, you'll see signs around town of our farmers who are supplying food to the school. So we are feeding the kids from farms in Hartland. Obviously not exclusively, but as much as we can and as much as it appropriately fits into our food budget. So that's the one comment. And then the second comment I wanted to hit on, actually there's 2 more. We as a board felt that it's really important to raise future Vermonters. And as somebody who moved here from out of state, the thing that frustrates me most, and one of the reasons I moved here was so that I could be outdoors in the winter. And some of the comments I hear from people who grew up here, they haven't spent the time outdoors in the winter, and they don't enjoy the outdoors in the winter, and that makes them want to leave, or that makes them have already left. And so that's where the Raising Future Vermonters and our winter activities program really comes in. There's athletic science that says that you need to train the neurons in your brain to do different athletic activities before age 11, because those neurons start to die off at age 11. So getting these kids out and learning to ski or learning to swim or learning to do things in Vermont in our cold winters is just so important to keeping them here and to raising a stronger Vermont. So to me, that feels like it's investment that's well worth the money, and I want to just keep that going, and that's why it's so important to me and to the rest of our board. And then the other was the music program. Music can be financially limited, and the board is trying really hard to not exclude kids from our music program because of family finances. So that's something that we're continuing to strive for. And we're trying to find ways that we can make it more affordable. Our band director was able to acquire a bunch of instruments from the Hopkins Center that were being put out of service from that college level performance, and she's able to put them into service in a middle school level performance. So things like that, that we're just trying so hard to get everybody included, to raise future Vermonters, and to have equitable experiences in our schools. So moving on to the budget. So the overview, I'm going to go through student enrollment, our high school costs, our budget goals, changes that we made from fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 24, our proposed budget for 24, the supervisory union assessment, and then how that impacts tax rates. And for those of you following around in your books, it's on page 118 of the town report. So our enrollment dipped in 2021-22. And then this year, we've rebounded a little bit, but not as much as we'd like. We lost a lot of students during the pandemic. And there were many reasons that we lost students during the pandemic, but we have not gained some of them back. But we are gaining kids back in other ways, so that's encouraging. And so one thing I will note is that these are our actual enrollment numbers in our transitional kindergarten through grade 12. These are not the same as the equalized pupil. The equalized pupil numbers, the state gives different weight to kids based on their grade. So like high schoolers are worth 1.5 kids, whereas younger elementary school kids are worth half a kid. So that's, I think that's, is that right? It's close enough. That's the bigger picture. I'm not sure on the actual numbers. Okay, next. Okay, so here's our high school tuition costs. Hartland is a sending town. We do not operate our own high school, and we are not part of a broader district that does operate their own high school. As you can see, we're seeing a 2% increase in high school costs this year. Given the economy, that increase is, I think it's good. A 2% increase in this economy for our high school costs is good. Our high school cost, we are projecting to spend $3 million to send our students to high school, but that represents 30% of our operating budget, and it also represents 30% of our students. So I don't feel like these are out of line, and it's an appropriate number given the size of our district. Move on. So the high school costs are out of our control. It's where the kids choose to go and what the high schools charge for tuition. The goals, so when we get those numbers back and then we start to look at the entire budget, these are the goals that as a board we're constantly coming back to in all of the decisions that we make. So our goal is to maintain a staffing plan and a program of studies which supports the whole child. And I think you heard me talk enough today to know that the whole child is through and through all of my decisions and everybody else on our board. And the whole child means that we want to support them intellectually, we want to support them socially and emotionally, and we want to support them physically. That's all, you need all three aspects in order to learn. And so we want to, when we approach our budget, we take into account all of these aspects, and we want to bring forth the most responsible budget that meets the education quality standards of the state and also meets our goal of educating the whole child. So when the board looked at our budget, we decided that we needed to decrease one staffing position. And the decision to decrease the staffing position is looking at our enrollment and looking at the allocation of how many kids we have in each classroom. And we decided that we were not going to impact the quality of our education of the whole child by reducing one staff member. So that was one big change. Other than that, the program is staying entirely same as it was last year. With those changes, we are seeing a 0.5% increase in salary. There was a negotiated salary increase with the teachers union, and that results in a 0.5% increase in salary, and then also a 1.28% increase in benefits. One of the things to note is that these are increases which include the teacher reduction. So these increases would have been substantially more had we kept the teaching position. The increase in benefit also includes a 12% increase in our health insurance costs, which I think people are seeing nationally and in Vermont, and we're feeling it in the school. So those are some of the reasons that you're seeing those increases. So here's our proposed budget. This year I did things a little bit differently. Instead of just showing the percent difference, I had Lindsay add in the dollar amount difference, because sometimes we have very large percentage differences that don't account for very much money. So our biggest change from last year to this year is an increase in our supervisory union assessment. That increase is primarily due to an increase in special education costs. The increase in special education costs is due to the negotiated salary changes. And we really, in the last wage negotiations, we gave our support staff significantly more money than they were getting before. And the reason was that we were hemorrhaging support staff. We could not keep people in the building. They were not earning a wage that was livable or sustainable, and so we're trying to correct that. And that, yes, and their healthcare costs also were going up significantly. So in that accounts for about 50% of the special education budget increase, and the rest of the special education budget increase is directly tied to the support plan that we need for each student. So our Katie Ahern, who you saw earlier, she goes through and looks at the plan for every single student and what they need to succeed in that year and what services we need to provide in order to meet their individual education plan, which is federally mandated that we do that. So she goes through and she calculates exactly how much money it's going to cost to service each student, and that's what goes into our special education costs. So the increase is not just like thrown on the table, it's thrown on the table with every individual kid in mind. The next biggest increase is in our building operations, and that's fuel oil. So I think we all understand that one this year. And then we see the small increase in tuition, the 2% increase in tuition, and then generally just some other increases across the board, but nothing really outstanding. There's one in supplies, I can't. Yeah. Here, do you want, sorry, I was gonna repeat what you said, but you just come up and say it.
Well, some of it is what we're trying to do in our schools, and we're trying to create more student empowerment, students leading their learning, and some of that means they're designing their own projects and their own learning paths, and they need materials to do that, and so some of the supply costs, that's being driven by that. Does that make sense?
Okay, next slide. I think we'll come back to that. So I kind of talked about this slide already, but this breaks down the supervisory union assessment and shows that the primary difference is really in our special education budget, and I already talked about that. So, Alina. So how does this impact our tax rates? Our current tax rate is 1.717, and then it's going to go up to 1.816. And it's an increase of $0.099, so 99 cents per dollar assessment. So that is going to equate to $99 for a house value of $100,000, and then going up to our $500,000 home, it's going to be just under a $500 increase. We're not happy about these increases. I also learned that the state changed the way that they distribute equalized pupils. The prior formula was that no town could change, their equalized people could not change, increase or decrease by more than 3%. They did away with that, and so this year we saw a sudden reduction in our equalized people. And that's a little frustrating because we saw a 6.7% reduction in our equalized pupil, which is based on where we are at our low point, and we're already coming back out of that. But that's what we're faced with this year. I hope that through giving this presentation, you can see that we're trying to make the right decisions. We're trying to do what's best for our kids. We're also trying to not spend a fortune on our school. We're trying to make it the right size to support our kids and to do the right thing for both our taxpayers and our students. So we can go, or I think that's my last slide, right? Yes. Okay, so I will take questions on the budget. Yeah, so somebody will get you a mic.
Can you identify yourself?
I'm sorry? Bonnie Goodman. Sorry, I feel like I'm the only one here, but anyway.
No, that's okay. We really appreciate that you are here.
And I'm just trying to understand this equalized, I mean, that's a huge change.
Yes.
You know, more than other towns
Yes.
around, towns with sending schools. You know, this Sharon district is 19 and change, and, you know, and ours is 22.8, you know,
Yeah.
22. Yeah, so I'm just trying to understand. Sounds like something in the calculations has changed this year, and I'm just trying, you know, I mean, the tuition rate that you're saying is only up 2%.
Right.
Okay, but our equalized budget and the other things that you've raised are reasonable amounts. But the equalized budget is up. The equalized student budget is up 10%. So
Right.
that doesn't add up to all the other things that you've
Right.
outlined.
So,
I'm just trying to understand it.
So one of the things that the legislature did after we wrote our warning, so when we wrote our warning and when we voted on our warning, we had to include the equalized pupil numbers in the warning. After we voted on our warning and it was published, the state, because it's so confusing and because they suddenly changed how quickly student populations could go up and down, they voted to make it so that schools did not have to put that on their warning because they recognize that it looks like we're being irresponsible and increasing our budget by 10%, even though we're not increasing the budget. I think our budget's going up by 4%. So here's my best explanation. So our total budget is going up by 4%. When we look at the budget, we look at how many kids, I mean, we really do. We have a listing of our classrooms and our counts in every classroom. And we say, okay, so for our second grade, we're gonna require 2 teachers. We can't put that whole second grade in one classroom. So, for example, last year, and I'm throwing numbers out of nowhere, but last year, let's say that our second grade was 35 kids, and maybe we lost 3. That brings us down to 33 kids, which decreases our equalized pupil, but that doesn't change our programming. And so when you look at our budget broken down by equalized pupil, it looks like it's going up by 10%, whereas if you look at the whole budget, it's going up by 4%. And we can't create teacher ratios that exactly match the equalized pupil. And our teachers are our most expensive asset. And so we try to be as responsible as we can. We're trying to be proactive. We cut a teacher position because we don't see a massive amount of kids coming back into our school. And so we're trying to get this sorted out. The other reason that they changed the restriction on how much an equalized pupil your equalized pupil rate can go up and down was because of the new law that they're trying to pass on the weighting of how school funding is going to come to each community. And so they wanted, and this part I do understand, as frustrating as it is, I do understand that they wanted to put everybody at the right level before they change that new weighting formula. So I don't know if I made more questions or if I helped. There's a lot that goes into a school budget.
My name is Bruce Renfro. Question about special ed funding. In the past, I know that the budget has been impacted pretty significantly by students that had significant special needs and their education had to be outsourced. How has that changed with the change in the supervisory unions and the just how things have changed over the past few years? Has that been more equalized? Or can the budget still take a hit?
Yeah, it's more stable. And so, yeah, so what you're talking about is, I think, was it even 5 years ago? It was a long time ago. I think it was before you were even principal here. So way back, we moved when special education was moved into the supervisory union. The supervisory union chose to allocate it based on our equalized pupil ratios within the 4 schools. And what that did is that dampened the, it dampened the fluctuation. So if one student with high needs moved into Hartland, under our previous funding formula, Hartland's special ed would skyrocket. And then that student may move to Wethersfield the next year, and Hartland's would plummet, and Wethersfield would skyrocket. And we have found that our students do tend to move within our supervisory union. So yes, that change has dampened the fluctuations. It has not dampened the number of students coming in and qualifying for special education.
Number of students within the supervisory union are what's impacting that special ed budget as opposed to it being more on a statewide basis.
Yes.
Equalized statewide. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And I want to give a shout out to Katie Ahern. She's just really righted the special education ship in the supervisory union. She has done some tremendous work, and she is being so creative in her ways to try and decrease their special education costs at the same time thinking about the whole child. She does both. She's constantly looking at numbers, and she's constantly looking at the whole child and trying to figure out how we can create the best program. And through that, she's bringing programs in-house. Is it this year or next year that we have an autism? This year, we have an autism classroom because we had so many kids with autism that it was worth bringing them together and educating them together. And by doing that, we were making it more cost-effective and a better education for those children. So I can't say enough about the amazing things that she's done within our special education program. Oh. Okay, Jim, do you want to, or Matt, do you want to moderate, Matt? Or
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, Jim, if you could just identify yourself and then ask your question. We can
Sure, Jim Riley, and first I just say, thank you for the education. The presentation was great. Just an easy question about enrollment. I was just curious, how many of the, how many high schoolers are there and how many elementary schoolers?
we're getting there, Jim. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, so our K-8, Lindsay is saying our K-8 enrollment is between 260 and 265 in that range. We actually got 3 new students this week, so that's why we're giving you a range. And that would make our high school enrollment like 140, yeah, 140, 145-ish. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Are there other questions from folks who are on Zoom? If you have a question, please raise your hand.
Board members, are there anything I forgot or some comment that you need to make about anything? Okay, thank you. Okay, so Matt, I think we move on to Article 6.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, we're going to go to Article 6, which is standard for informational meetings, which is to transact any other business which may properly come before the meeting. These would be non-binding discussions, but are there any other items to bring up? Yeah, can you?
So it's Bonnie Goodman again. I'm just wondering, I'll wait until you're ready. Just wondering if the board has any feelings about this new legislation that's going on, that they're looking at choosing 3 public schools for the town, and we have a lot of kids who get tuition to independent schools, and that may be going away, and 3 schools, as far as I can tell, we can only do a minimum of 4. So I'm wondering how the board feels about that and what potential there might be for the board to impact the legislation.
So I can't speak for the entire board because we haven't had a direct conversation about this. This legislation is moving fast, scary fast. So I agree that we as a town could not easily pick 3 schools. I honestly, in my head, can't get it below 5. And I feel like that may even be a hardship for some of our families. I feel like our families have traditionally sent their kids off to 4 and 5 different schools. And so if kids in our community who live maybe in the same house that their parents grew up in want to go to the same school that their parents went, we need to have a choice of 4 or 5. So that is something that I know I am writing the legislature, and I know at least one other board member is writing the legislature on. Again, this is not a board opinion, this is my opinion. And then as far as the independent schools, we do send to a couple of independent schools. That is not the majority of where we send our students. I have some challenges just from an emotional standpoint, from an equity lens on that. But some of our independent schools that we send to, they take full tuition and are considered to be legacy independent schools by our state. I forget, is that the right word? Is it legacy or, okay, close enough. Historic academies. And yeah, so one of the schools that we send, I think it's the 3rd most school this year, is considered one of those historic academies. And I'm fully in support of continuing. So the board is writing some letters, and if other people are listening and feel compelled to write some letters, that's a fine thing as far as I'm concerned.
Any of the other board members want to, it was opened up to all board members, if anyone else wanted to make a comment? Okay. This was appropriate for Article 6, so thank you. Any other business to come before this meeting? Anyone on Zoom? Madam Superintendent?
I have one very important announcement. I am sad to announce that this is Sarah's last board meeting. Sarah has been a guiding light on this board, and we are really going to miss her thoughtful opinions. The one thing I told Sarah when she first joined the board, I think even at our first meeting, I am a dyslexic engineer. Sarah is somebody who is gifted with words, and I could not find the words in my head to express the thought that I wanted to say at a board meeting. And Sarah eloquently spoke everything that was in my head, and it was brilliant. And she's continued to find the pieces in my head that I can't find and verbalize myself. And she's also planted so many seeds in my head of ways to look at things that I hadn't thought of. And so I'm gonna miss having you on the board. But you are more than welcome to come and partake in cookies or chocolate or anything else in the future. So, and please continue to plant seeds in my head. And I may look for words when I can't find them. Yep.
I just wanted to say thank you, Nikki, and it's been such an honor to represent Hartland and to serve with all of you. And I just want to say that our school is in really, really good hands. We have an amazing administrative team now. Christine and Lindsay and Alina are just doing a terrific job. We couldn't ask for any better. So Hartland, you can feel really, really confident in this team and in our wonderful school board. And Nikki, you work harder than anybody I know. Thank you.
Without the honorary mallet. So if there is, I will entertain, there we are, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this special meeting. I do want to take one point of privilege that I am, as Sarah's husband, less upset about her stepping down. But, and so we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed? And we are adjourned. Please remember to vote next Tuesday.